though he doesn't specify what exactly he's being charged with. Adams said that he's been fighting injustices throughout his life and vowed to fight what he calls these injustices with every ounce of his strength and spirit.
It is now my belief that the federal government intends to charge me with crimes. If so, these charges will be entirely false, based on lies.
In a video statement Wednesday night, Mayor Eric Adams says he will fight back against the federal criminal charges.
I always knew that if I stood my ground for all of you, that I would be a target, and a target I became.
Over the last few months, federal investigators have raided the homes and seized electronics from the mayor and many in his inner circle.
Oh my goodness.
Former NYPD Commissioner Edward Caban, who stepped down earlier this month.
So there's a traffic jam of investigations, subpoenas, searches, devices being seen.
My.
The first thing we've seen that will actually
Grand Rising to everyone.
Being brought forth tomorrow.
Earlier Wednesday, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez became the most prominent Democrat to call for the mayor to resign, posting on social media, "The flood of resignations and vacancies are threatening government function. For the good of the city, he should resign." Adams shot back, penning in part for anyone who self-righteously claims people charged with serious crimes should not be in jail to now say that the second black mayor of New York should resign because of rumors and innuendo is the height of hypocrisy. Wednesday, the outgoing school's chancellor insisted his decision to retire in the middle of the academic year this December was made before federal agents raided his home, which the 62-year-old shares with fiancée First Deputy Mayor Sheena Wright and the home of his brother, Deputy Mayor for Public Safety Philip Banks.
David is my brother, and the Banks family are my family. I value Phil, who rose to the level of being the highest ranking person in charge of the police department patrol force.
And tonight, the mayor is getting ahead of what's becoming a growing list of calls for his resignation, saying in a statement that he can understand why New Yorkers would be concerned that he can't continue to do the job while facing these accusations, but saying, quote, "New Yorkers elected me to lead this city, so, quote, lead it, I will." Live outside Gracie Mansion on the Upper East Side, Allie Bauman, CBS News, New York.
Grand Rising, thanks for joining. Mayor indicted.
Defiant mayor tonight. We looked at him there requesting
faces federal charges.
Trial. That's a stunning thing to do. What's going on there?
I think that he absolutely believes that he did nothing wrong, and you heard in his statement that he's going to fight this with every ounce of his strength and his spirit. And I think that he intends to try to prove that he did nothing wrong. The real question is, what are the charges and who else may be involved, and what charged with as well?
You know, Maurice and I interviewed the mayor back in November during a live
Grand Rising, everyone.
Point blank, if he felt he was being targeted. He gave a political correct answer, but tonight he alluded to something else in that video statement. He believes he is being targeted.
Well, he believes, according to that statement, he believes that he was targeted by the Justice Department after he publicly attacked the immigration policies of the Biden administration. And I think that you can understand that some New Yorkers may believe that what he says is true, because he did take a very strident stance against the president's immigration policies at a time when the president was running for re-election and really cared about that. And it was sort of interesting that the raid that was done on the home of his chief fundraiser, Breonna Suggs, was on the very morning that he was in Washington at the White House for a conference on immigration, and he had to turn around and come back. There's a nexus there.
He really feels he can beat this. Does that appear to be a real thing? I mean, like you said, an everyday person may look at this and say, look, he feels he fought immigration policies, and now he's being persecuted. He really feels he has a case.
Well, here's the thing.
Grand Rising, thanks for joining.
And cases are very difficult to prove, and even in cases
this is awful.
Like Joe Percoco, who was a top aide to Governor Cuomo, they are overturned. So he does feel he has a chance. And remember, if he fights it and he gets an immediate trial, I mean, I don't know how immediate it could be. Federal government takes a long time. But if he does, he might be able to even beat it, and he could conceivably run for re-election. Hard to believe, but he could.
You've been covering politics in this city for
a long time.
A minute or two, Marcia. historically speaking, have you ever seen anything like this happen so quickly? I mean, the commissioner, the former commissioner, resigns 2 days after the acting commissioner is in office. His home is also raided. So many dominoes falling so quickly.
Well, remember that this probe actually began last November, so it's 10 months. So it's not as if it was just a minute. It just seems like it's very big because all of a sudden a whole bunch of things happened. They served more subpoenas this summer. They then sought subpoenas from some of the top aides. What it says is that they have developed information as they started to branch out from this probe, and that's caused them to seek more information, and that's why they were seeking the phones and documents from people going forward.
Widening the net.
All right, the politics, so much going on here. What does your gut tell you? What's going to happen next?
Well, I think that's what's going to happen is two things. Number one, there's going to be an avalanche of calls for him to resign.
There are tonight.
And then you have to see whether he agrees. But then there's another thing that has to happen. The governor of the state of New York does have the ability to remove him from office. It remains to be seen whether she does or whether she lets him have his day in court. But there's going to be pressure on her as well to remove him from office. We have to wait to see what happens. Because remember this, he needs to fill out the rest of his government. A lot of people have resigned. How is he going to get people to take these jobs if he's under a cloud?
And how does the city continue to run under this kind of situation?
Well,
right?
he has an argument to that. He says, I've been investigated since November. Crime is down, jobs are up, tourism is up. I got a record. That's his answer.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with that for now. To be continued for sure, Marcia. Thank you.
Marcia, thank you for that insight. Let's continue our coverage now with Hofstra University law professor James Sample. Professor, we don't know what these charges are just yet. The indictment remains sealed. But do you think that they must be pretty serious if you're going to charge a sitting mayor of New York City?
Grand Rising.
That is likely the case, and I think that what we know about the Southern District of New York and federal prosecutors in general is that they are not likely to bring a case against a prominent figure unless they really feel that they've got the entire thing buttoned up very tightly. And we don't know. They're essentially, part of the complexity here is that there are 4 separate investigations. The 3 primary investigations and the 3 likely sources of the charges are one of the 3. This seems like the most likely and the one that's being reported as, according to the insiders who seem to have sources on this, that this is tied to likely Mayor Adams acting as an unregistered foreign agent, and particularly vis-a-vis his relationship with the members of the Turkish government and Turkish nationals funneling campaign contributions to him in exchange for some official action. But as Marcia said, corruption charges are very, very difficult to prove, and even on appeal, as she said, where there have been some convictions, it is difficult to establish that the official act, the quid pro quo that was taken in response to even foreign donations, is one that can be categorized as corrupt as opposed to politics as usual. This will be an interesting matter for sure.
Professor, before we let you go, what are the mechanics of what happens next? The indictment is unsealed, then what happens to the mayor? Does he go to a courtroom? Does he face the judge? What happens?
The indictment is likely to be unsealed tomorrow. It appears that Mayor Adams will probably negotiate surrender. That may be tomorrow. It may be early next week. If he's ultimately in a position where he has to resign, then Jumaane Williams, the public advocate, would take over, and Williams would have to call for a special election, which would be 80 days within the 80 days after Williams called for it.
And then there's another election that's already scheduled for next year. That would take place as well.
Correct.
Okay, exactly how many mayors we would have at the same time, that's almost unclear.
One step at a time.
Exactly.
One step at a time.
Professor,
Thanks for
thank you so
watching.
much.
Thumbs up. Thanks for the thumbs up.
Thank you, Professor. And do stay with CBS News New York as we continue to cover this historic indictment. Our morning team will be on top of any developments overnight, and our live team coverage starts tomorrow at 4:30 a.m.
In just a moment here.
Okay, Grand Rising. So since
There are so many
Sean
witnesses,
Combs have been arrested, put in jail, I would say not prison. He's not in prison yet, but he is in jail. Ever since that happened, so many people have been stepping down. Now the mayor has been indicted and his home raided. This is just Judgment Day from the Almighty Most High. This is Judgment Day. The end of the old world is done. Everyone that deserves justice is going to get justice, and those who deserve judgment is going to get judgment. Y'all, thank y'all for tuning in on this beautiful Thursday morning. Y'all stay tuned for the next live and tell me what y'all think about all of this unfolding before our eyes.